Hey everybody. Oh, it's good to be back here. So, just finished doing a sort of a theme on obsessed artists that had a huge impact on me. But this was actually the first video I was going to do because this is a shorter video, but these are the first pieces of music artists that woke me up in a big way to music that was out there. So it was the waking up period for me to begin exploring playing instruments and music in general. So I'm going to do a couple pieces that, had a instantaneous change in my life path. So I'm going to, with that said, I'm going to set the scene. So it was around 1986. So junior high school, didn't really know what was going on in music. I was listening to music at the time. You had Club Nouveau doing a version of Lean On Me. You had the Jets. You had the Beastie Boys. You had Europe. Final Countdown. You had Lou Gramm, Midnight Blue. These are some of the hits. Heart, Alone, Grateful Dead, Touch of Grey. Those were some of the hits in 1986, summer of 1986. So I went away to hang out with a family member in down south around 1986, and somebody had a shoebox of cassette tapes, of sort of blank tapes, mixtapes, and I had my Walkman. And one day I was listening to a lot of popular music. We all had Columbia House, had versions, various hits at the time from Phil Collins and the Jets and even Madonna. I think I was listening to. Or whatever radio station you were listening to, you're listening to the top 10 at 10. And that's how most people got their music. If they didn't have the inside track, or they didn't have siblings who sort of passed down music, or didn't have people telling you what was more hip to listen to. So, anyway, I basically, I encountered this accidentally. Basically picked out a cassette tape, threw it in my Walkman, and popped it in on side one. And after the first song, I would say the second song came on, and this was it. This was one of the ones that woke me up. Here we go. Yeah, I still got chills when those tapping arpeggios were sort of reaching that climax. I started getting chills down both my arms. And I'm not sure if Eddie particularly was a fan of that sort of extra. They had this sort of stereo, this sort of etherealness, this sort of heavens opening feeling you get from that production, from that engineering. I'm not sure if he was a fan of it from the beginning. Maybe he is now or not, or was. But yeah, it's obviously not a, it's not the rawest super live sound. It's a very, it goes into, I was thinking of the whole thing of, like I said, the Heavens Open and Gabriel's horn. I guess in the late 70s version, it would hear Eddie's guitar sort of entrancing, playing the opening music, walk-on music to the Afterworld. But yeah, obviously Running with the Devil was the first song, and then I went into this. But when I popped in the tape and then heard this, and then especially even it really got me going into that, I was like, what the heck is this stuff, man? This is like off the charts. This is just like, what I was listening to. This is so immediately, I'll go into what was on side 2. So it was a 2-part, epiphany, sort of brain change, direction change in my life. So I was 15 years old, around there, I think 15. And that was the summer of 86, went home. So obviously Van Halen had been around for, a good 8 years. They were after 1984. So actually, when I was in junior high, they were touring on 5150. And the Live Without a Net was actually near my hometown in New Haven, Connecticut, where I was going to junior high school at the time. So I remember they were posting little posters around the junior high saying Live Without a Net, Van Halen's coming to town, and I had no idea what it was. So I really didn't know until maybe the next year what Van Halen was going on about. So, but it did its job with me, like thousands of others. So yeah, so much so by when I started playing guitar that fall, started taking lessons. Initially had a kind of cheap, Fender copy guitar, but when I bought my first guitar, my first electric, with my own money, or I was a year later, I bought the Kramer Sustainer for 1988 for $800, I think it was. It was a white one. Had all the bells and whistles, all the, the Sustainer. Anything a boy could want that didn't necessarily know how to play all the chords, didn't know the scales, but had a whammy bar and an endless supply of sound to manipulate that. But the guitar itself wasn't super great. I tried to sell it in 1990, probably sold it for like $350. Van Halen was also very hard to learn. Like at that time, they had like little handwritten copies you could send away for. Some guy would write out a handwritten version of like Jamie's Crying. But it was very hard to, especially for pre-tablature and stuff like that. It wasn't really sure. Like it's hard to define what was the rhythm, where the measure ended, where it started, what was the rhythm of the notes and all that stuff. So with Eddie, it was just like reading hieroglyphics, trying to figure out how does this note correspond to that sound. So I didn't have a lot of luck with playing Van Halen at the time, or learning it, other than playing the rhythm of like You Really Got Me. Could play the rhythm parts, or like Hot for Teacher, kind of learned that, similar to like LaGrange. But anyway, review wise, yeah. However, Ted Templeman, producer of the first Montrose album and instigator of the loud, energy-laden sound that Livewire crackled in its every groove, stood at the boards quietly and without fuss, making sure that recording sound crashed out of our speakers like a brick through a plate glass window. And I said the performance had a lot of plate reverb, in which Eddie wasn't a fan of, and it was very difficult to sound accurate. So yeah, this song, first introduction to Van Halen, was off Van Halen 1, and immediately, yeah, like I said, got a guitar. I said, I don't know what he's doing, but I want to explore that. I want to investigate. So yeah, this is what this episode is about, my waking up. Okay, there's the pre-Van Halen, there's the listening to the radio years, and then there was the Van Halen years, like, oh, there's all this stuff out there. So it was a big sea change. Second part to that, like I said, the cassette on the second side, flipped it over, listened to all of Van Halen 1 on one side, which obviously Van Halen 1, every song on there is just, cranks your ears, and it was like a different universe opening up. Second side, somebody decided to put another album on there, and this was the other side of my awakening, and that was, what was that? That was a song. It's hard to pick a song off these, right? They're both great. I don't know which one on this actually woke me up the most. It might have been, let's just say it's the whole album, the whole artist that created this change. So I'm going to play another song off this album, which is off the second side, which is Bring It On Home, off Led Zeppelin 2, 1969.
Got that load. John up, going higher, all aboard. I'ma take my seat right way back. Oh, yeah, I watch this train go down the track. Gonna bring it on home, bring it on home to you. Watch out, Madman.
All right, I'm going to pause it there for a second. So obviously this was on the second side. This was close to the end. I don't know if it was the last song, but I was close to the end. So obviously I'd heard the universe expanding sound of Jimmy Page and the rest of Led Zeppelin on their previous songs. So, you know, A Whole Lot of Love probably had the initial impact on me of like, okay, this is a different sound. There's Van Halen, now there's Led Zeppelin. And A Whole Lot of Love was probably the beginning of the one that was like, okay. And then, but all the songs on there, it just continued this sort of, you know, my mind was just like swirling around. But I picked this one because this one, it has a real tie to the blues, obviously, because I think this is a cover of Willie Dixon, which I'll play. Oh no, sorry, Sonny Boy Williamson. But it might have been a Willie Dixon song. But yeah, Sonny Boy Williamson, harmonica player, and it sounds very close to the original. This part of it, obviously, when they go into the next part, it's like a rampage of But I loved the riff on this, and it was not easy to play, even though it's not super note heavy. But just with the open strings, it's kind of difficult to get those bends in there. Anyway, let's continue to I'll rewind it a tiny bit.
Bring it
All right, really interesting that they went back as the intro to the really subdued blues original. Yeah, it's they could have easily just vamped out there. So it's really cool that they went back to that harmonica and blues. So but yeah, that Bonham really is. He was, I think, at the what really brings the strength in Bonham is he was so much more funkier than a lot of the drummers in that psychedelic late '60s and rock. They're more like going like psychedelic infusion, but he kept it tight and funky on some of these blues tunes, right? And it's definitely more infused funk and sparseness than just playing blues beats. And so yeah, you pick that up on here. Like it's funky, it's really funky. And Jimmy's like thrashed out, red hot tone there, where it's like the amp's ready to freaking blow up. It's so saturated and so crusty. Even the rhythm part. I used to love that rhythm part. It's nothing to it. Like you play with acoustic, it's just an E. It's just like an E to A, E to a sus. It's just a little twist here and there. There's nothing much to it, but he's got so much funk and crust on it. It's so dirty. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna finish this off. Let's talk about this song a little bit more. Here we go.
Bring it on home. Bring it on home to you.
Cool. Yeah. So again, going home to the roots. And I think Jimmy had played with Sonny Boy on an album about 5 years before, 1964. He recorded, because he was a big studio musician, obviously. He played with Sonny Boy in that period. So there was some reverence to that. Obviously with the copyright and the credits and stuff, Led Zeppelin doesn't have a great history with that, with providing all of the credit to the blues at that time that they had infused their sound with. So Jimmy, he said he purchased his 1959-1960 Les Paul Standard Burst while on tour at the Fillmore East from Joe Walsh for about $1,200. He quickly found that the Les Paul's humbuckers had a much more controllable form of feedback compared to his Telecaster. And he had his 1968 Marshall Super Bass was modded by Tony Frank. And yeah, on that particular, and then basically, I was going to go into, so learning Led Zeppelin, there was a lot of music around there at the time that I had heard them. There was some music, obviously, so it was easier for me. I could jump into the Led Zeppelin, the music, the guitar parts, whether it's acoustic or electric. There was, lots of books out there to sort of, find out what was happening with that. So I was definitely a lot more, had a lot more opportunity to learn Led Zeppelin songs, as much as I wanted, which was my go-to. That's where I started. I was like, just one more. Let me learn one more Led Zeppelin tune. Let me learn this one. Okay, let me learn the next one. It was baby steps. That's all I was like, I got to learn something on here, what he's doing. And then from there, it just went into obviously what goes into the blues. You can go back, you can go forward, you can go a lot of different directions with Led Zeppelin because they had their acoustic flair, they had their electric, they had the blues, they had the sort of Eastern music, you had the funk, and then between all of them, there was so much. The sum was greater than the parts. It's all together. It was something outside the norm. Anyway, I'm gonna play a little bit later, but I'm gonna finish off with some of my history of Led Zeppelin. So it was these two first albums that began, woke me up to like, this is music. This is what you could encounter. This is how you're gonna get good. This is how you're gonna learn. These are the greats that you're going to need to invest in. My first concert, 1988, As a sophomore in high school, I went and saw Robert Plant on his Now and Zen tour. First concert ever, yeah. Pretty good seats. I think I was behind him, though. But, yeah, the opener I did not know. And 2 years later, I saw Stevie Ray Vaughan opened up for Robert Plant. Still had the feather in the hat. Still playing. I remember Willie the Wimp. Later in that year, November 1988, saw the Jimmy Page Outrider tour. Mason Ruffner opener. Didn't know him either. I still I know his name, but I'm not super familiar with him. But, yeah, so within the year, obviously, yeah, saw Robert Plant, saw Jimmy Page. First 2 concerts. So, yeah, huge impact on my music. I mean, it basically all began there at 15 years old, hearing Van Halen and Led Zeppelin, like thousands of others. It's not wasn't that out of the norm of thousands, tens of thousands of other kids hearing that for the first time. Created birth of tens of thousands of musicians, inspired. Okay, I'm gonna go out on a little bit of happy you're here. Love to hear what got you started, what's your musical epiphanies, what got you, to pick up an instrument, to learn, to have some discipline and try something new. It's a scary thing to try to learn and take baby steps and know that you have so far to go, but you have to take that first step. So I'm going to go out on a little bit of the original, Bring It On Home, recorded 1963, released in 1966. Sonny Boy Williamson on harmonica, Matt Guitar Murphy on guitar, Milton Reckner on bass, and Al Duncan on drums. A couple of those guys you might recognize as the Blues Brothers band. And we're going to do a little bit of Bring It On Home, Sonny Boy Williamson.
Baby, I'm gonna bring it on home to you. I done bought my ticket, I got my load. Conductor done hollered all aboard. Take my seat right way back and watch this train move down the track. Times I once have had. Soul got happy, my heart got glad. I think about the way you love me too. You can bet your life I'm coming home to you.
There we go, the original, Bring It On Home. So you can see, yeah, Robert Plant really tried to closely mimic some of the other blues singers that he was, and influenced by himself. Because obviously his voice, his natural voice was, had different strengths. In harmonica playing, I'm sure he must have had a huge influence on the blues artists they both did, as Jimmy Page did, Robert Plant as well. So I appreciate you all being here. Appreciate you, seeing this, finding the music that's, both at large, some of the greats, but also we're going to find, some of the semi-unknown greats out there. But I figured I'm going to do just a couple videos just to sort of show, share some of my history, some of the music that inspired me, that got me to, continue me on, the direction that we came on. It's an evolution, exploration. That's what this channel is all about. So look forward to hearing anything anybody has on where you are, where you came from, music that inspired you. Until then, look forward to the next segment. I think we're going to look into some Dylan, but I think we're going to join a lot of cover music and see some of the great Dylan covers that have been done over the years. There's been hundreds, obviously, but there's some stuff that's, I think stands on its own as really transporting, and transcendent Dylan. So look forward to that and a whole bunch of other themed shows. We're going to jump into a lot of different directions. So I hope to see you there. Bye-bye.